Implementation of group guidance activities. Planning of group guidance activity may focus the following points. 1. Need assessment. The need assessment must be done to find out the common problems of individuals in the group. This can be done by administering questionnaire, checklists and interview. 2. Determining size of the group and time, venue for group activities. Depending upon the group activity, the size of the group should be fixed. The size should be approachable and manageable. The venue should be selected taking into account the group selected for activity. 3. Selection of members and role specifications. The participants' selection for group guidance activity is also very important. The students, for example, should be communicated about their roles in group activities. 4. Orientation of members. The group goals should be clarified. It should be stated in clear, objective, and measurable terms. 5. Monitoring of activities and evaluation of outcomes. If we want to conduct the activities purposefully, it should be properly monitored taking into account the goal progress. Feedback about activity needs to be collected from participants. Some of the common group guidance activities are class talk, career talk, displays and exhibitions. Techniques of group guidance. A number of techniques are used in organizing group guidance. Group discussion. For example, at senior secondary stage, students should have knowledge about different career. A group discussion may be organized in the school. For organization of the group discussion, proper room/hall, group and relevant topic and expert/resource person should be selected. The group discussion will be useful only if the members participate effectively without the fear, and all the members have the opportunity to participate. But the effectiveness of the group discussion depends upon the facilitator and the group selected. Problem solving. For solving individual as well as common problems, problem solving can be applied as a technique. It comprises of the following steps: existence of common problem, focused description of the problem, initiation of action for solving problem based on relevant facts, analysis of problem in the light of data collected, listing of possible solutions and evaluation of them, acceptance of degree of acceptance of solution in the group. Role play. In small group, role-playing can be adopted as a technique of guidance. Role-playing is a method where real-life situations are simulated by group members/participants. This provides new insight, intuitions, skills and understanding of opposing viewpoints. The role-playing may comprise of the following steps: existence of common problem, orientation of group to role-playing and the problem, assigning of roles, preparation of other members/audience to observe intelligently, assessing the role-play, concluding session and feedback. Other methods like case study and sociometric technique can be used as group guidance technique. Advantages of group guidance. We have discussed about different activities and approaches of group guidance. Some of the advantages of group guidance are as follows: inspires learning and understanding. Interaction in group setting inspires learning and understanding of students. The student learns from other member of group. Saves time and effort. Group guidance technique can save time and effort of both the counselor and students. The time saved can be used for the more difficult and complex problems of students, improvement of students' attitude and behavior, development of wholesome and helpful awareness of unrecognized needs, and problems of student per second, limitations of group guidance. Group guidance, though, serves a useful purpose, but they cannot be taken as a substitute for individual counseling. Group activities serve many of the objectives of the school guidance program, but not all of these. Further, students may feel hesitant to come out with their personal problems in the group. So, in these cases, group guidance cannot be of help. Group guidance activities serve useful purposes, especially saving in time and effort. While organizing these activities, some problems that a counselor may face are mentioned below. A rigid type of administration is often a major cause of trouble. Generally, when the counselor asks for time in the timetable for conducting these guidance activities, he or she may get a discouraging reply: "The timetable is already full. No periods are free." So the counselor is left with no other choice than to take the substitute management period. Lack of cooperation on part of the administration as well as the staff members may also create problems in organizing such activities. Teacher may feel this as an additional burden. Lack of adequate funds is another problem. Summarizing exercise. Exercise 5. What is individual guidance and counseling? What is group guidance and counseling? What are the objectives of group guidance? How can you organize group guidance activities? State the techniques of group guidance. Explain role-play technique of group guidance. Instrument development and validation. Domain specification. This is where the construct, attitude or skill to be measured is identified and specified in both general and specific terms. It includes preparation of blueprint, item writing, first-level validation and revision, pilot testing, finalization, preparation of test instrument. This is an important stage of preparing the plan or blueprint for writing items for the instrument. The plan showing coverage of the instrument in terms of objectives and domain content are put on the grid. This is to ensure that the domain in focus is covered in breadth and in depth. Item writing. This is the process of composing the first draft of the instrument by writing its component items. The structure of the instrument starts developing from this stage. It is perhaps the most intellectually demanding step in the process of instrument development. The process ends when the distribution of items in the test blueprint is completely covered. First-level validation and revision. After the first draft of the instrument is composed, it is subjected to validation for face and content validity. Comments from the validation items are used to revise the structure and items on the instrument. Pilot testing. The revised draft is pilot tested on a sample of the population for which the instrument is meant. Further refinement of the instrument is made on the basis of pilot test data. Finalization. Data from the pilot testing exercise are used to further refine the instrument. At this time, the reliability values are determined. Adapting instruments. Sometimes, it is not worth the effort developing and validating a new instrument if standardized forms exist. It could be like reinventing the wheel most times. However, It may not be able to use the standardized instrument in the pure form without adapting it to our situation. Adaptation could be with minimum modification. The modification could also be major. The direction of modification is usually in the areas of degree of fit with the test blueprint, cultural bias, length. After modification, the instrument should be subjected to validation and reliability examination, as if it was a new instrument. Develop and validate the following instruments which could facilitate your providing objective guidance and counseling service to your students. Activity 6. 1. A questionnaire to collect background data on your students that are relevant to their academic, social and career guidance needs. 2. A questionnaire to measure their attitude towards the course you teach. 3. A 50-item achievement test in your course which will reveal the learning difficulties of your student. Exercise. Adapt a standardized psychometric inventory, e.g. for measuring self-concept for use in your class. Provide an opportunity for your students to talk about themselves, their now and their tomorrow. Note what they avoid saying, what they emphasize, and relate these to your prior knowledge of each student. Do you gain a better understanding? Are you confused more? Activity 7. 1. Administer the questionnaire you developed for measuring the attitude of your students towards your teaching. Score the items in the questionnaire. Remember to reverse scoring for negative terms. Take the total for each section of the questionnaire and for the whole instrument. Calculate the mean for the group. Record the scores for each student in the different sections and also the total scores. What counseling decisions need to be taken on the basis of the graph? 2. Call selected students on an individual basis and get to know them better based on item of exercise 6. E.g., you said in class that you was is, but F is what I knew of you. Can you explain further? Or can you help me reconcile the two views about you? Data collection and processing. Instruments can be administered individually or to a group of learners. After administration, the responses should be scored, and the data recorded in a manner that is amenable to processing. Data processing can simply involve manual calculation using the handheld calculator of percentages and means and drawing of graphs to show the distribution of scores. It can also be through the use of a personal computer for more elaborate analysis. Processed data should be stored in such a way as to facilitate retrieval when needed for offering guidance and/or counseling to individuals or groups of learners. Group and individual interview. The interview is a good technique for getting in-depth information that could otherwise not be obtained from most instruments. In a relaxed atmosphere, the interviewee, the person being interviewed, could furnish the interviewer, the person conducting the interviewer, with a large volume of information. In order not to be drowned by the avalanche of information, we need to systematically plan for, execute, and follow up interviews that we conduct during guidance and counseling exercises. Planning. The following steps need to be taken in planning and interview. Step 1. Stage setting. Identification of characteristics of the interviewee. Step 2. Arranging the sitting. Audio/video recording. Developing an interview guide. Step 3. Pilot testing the instrument. Step 4. Finalization of the interview guide. Executing. In executing the interview plan, the interviewer needs to present the questions audibly and ensure that the interviewee fully understands the demand of the question. Avoid forcing the pace of response. Complete the question and answer session for a question before moving on to the next. Take notes as the responses are given. Follow-up. Develop the interview transcript as follow-up questions if there are areas that need clarification from the interviewee. For group interviews, target respondents should be identified. Agreements should be reached by the group on a subject before being recorded by the interviewer. Group and individual observations. Observations are designed to provide perspectives to data gathering that are not captured by test administration and interviews. These perspectives include nonverbal behaviors and interaction patterns. A sad look, a look of excitement, gait when walking, shy tendencies in class, and aggressive tendencies are some of the characteristics of the learner to be counseled that a questionnaire may not reveal in full. By observing the learner, we are able to record in graphical and direct form such physically observable behaviors. The development of an observation instrument is the first step to be taken. We should follow the sequence shown in steps 1 to 4 on the previous page. After developing the instrument, we could use it in gathering data by observing the group as a unit or for observing individual students with specific problems. There are 2 main types of observation. The observer, in this case the teacher, participates in the activities given to learners. This enables the teacher put himself or herself in the place of the learner empathy. In non-participant observation, the observer looks from a distance and records unobtrusively. This is the more common mode of observation in guidance and counselling. Anecdotal record. This is record of snapshots of significant events in the life of the learner. The events can be recorded either by the teacher or by the learner. Whichever way, the teacher keeps the record for the purpose of having insights into the behavior patterns of the learner. This record is important as the teacher prepares to attend to the counseling needs of the learner. Student advising. This is an organized scheme for offering guidance to students. The focus is usually academic guidance, although it could be stretched to include social guidance if social activities in the life of the learner impacts negatively on learning. In many institutions, the scheme is department-based. Each lecturer in the department is assigned a group of students. The students are expected to meet periodically with the advisor, as a group or individually. Where such schemes exist, they have been known to be effective in helping students overcome their learning difficulties. Records to be kept by the teacher/counselor. Records of achievement. A good record of achievement test can serve as an effective instrument in which we can measure an individual's performance with a comma those of others in his group and b. his past achievement. With this, one can diagnose his weakness and strength. School progress of each student can also be measured. Need for remedial measures determined and the progress of the entire students improved. For instance, a mathematics test, if well constructed, could provide information as to whether or not students' weaknesses in the fundamental operation. Personality information records. Personal qualities and interests are equally important as factors which affect one's success in occupation, life, social life, and in school. The only way to measure personality is by observing how the individual behaves in different situations. Such observations can be made in the classroom, at playground, during social gathering, etc. when the individual is quite himself or herself. Personality records should contain the following views about the students. A. Concern for others - antisocial, indifferent, dependable, sometimes socially concerned or deeply concerned. B. Responsibility - unreliable, somewhat dependable, usually dependable, conscientious, assumes much responsibility. C. Emotional stability - hyper-emotional, excitable, usually well-balanced, exceptionally stable. Health records. Though the teacher cannot have this, it is necessary that the school counselor has a record about students' health. This should be made up to date, indicating the type of disease from which the individual must have suffered, the duration of illness and the time of the year, if possible. Medical statements about students as eyes, teeth, posture, nervous symptoms, or speech defects should also be included. A cumulative up-to-date health record will help the school counselor refer particular students at different times to specialists for treatment. This also helps to decide the type of job to which a student can be assigned. A research fellow on school discipline has suggested that the offense should not determine the punishment, but instead the type of punishment recommended should depend on the physical strength of the individual offender. It therefore follows that a detailed, up-to-date health record will help remind the counselor and the school authority of the importance of individual differences in dealing with the children. Family records. The home is one of the major factors which affect the education of students. An unstable home causes the student emotional imbalance. The family record should include name and address of parents, their nationality and occupation, and the socio-economic status. If family records are kept and maintained up to date by the counselor, clues can be found in an attempt to spot out students' difficulties with the aim of helping to alleviate his or her suffering. A good knowledge of the family records of the student will help to foster the triangular relationship which should exist between the teachers, the parents and the student. The counselor should examine the cumulative records of each student to A. Help the counselor get acquainted with a new student more quickly at the beginning of the semester or session. B. Help students who are not working up to class level to cope with their problems. The underachievers and those students who need remedial courses are thus identified and helped. C. Identify gifted students and other students of unusual ability, and help them by finding appropriate and challenging work for them. D. Find out students who attend classes irregularly, and encourage them towards regular attendance. E. Study the personality traits of students who misbehave and suggest ways for their learning other adaptive behaviors. F. Help the counselor to study students for whom special aids, such as scholarship, are being considered. G. Gain background knowledge about students, before assisting them in the choice of course for study. H. Gather some information about a student before conferring with his parents. I. Discover students of exceptional talents in such special fields as arts, music, athletics or creative writing. Activity 11. Which records of the student has in your CLAS do you have? How do you obtain them? Of what use other records do you? Which ones would you have loved to have but which you do not have? Why would you wish you had them? Think of your students' days. Did any of your teachers ever give you any advice, suggestion, threat, etc.? If yes, what was it upon? Why did he or she has to do so? What was your reaction? Find out if any of your students would have loved to discuss his life, program, career, or future plans with you, but was afraid or reluctant to do so. How many students? Why were they afraid or reluctant? What do you intend to do after this discovery? After a class test, do you discuss students' performance with them?